incredibly important for this game.
All right, now, Vedius, talk to me a little bit about the expectations and maybe some of the things that we've also learned from the previous two games. Have we seen any trends? It's obviously a small number, but differences from what we've seen in play-ins has already straight out the gate. Yumi and Caitlyn banned away.
So I think that there are some rules that you can take from historic Worlds performances and apply them to right now. If you believe that you are better than your opposition, scaling is a very good thing. If you believe that your opposition is, well, better than you, you have to be willing to go toe-to-toe with them in the early game. Because as Darmon demonstrated, if you give them an inch, they will take a mile. Whereas if you cannot contest them in the early game, Fnatic demonstrated that they will run you down in the late game. The question is, how do both of these teams see each other?
And with a Sylas and Seraphine ban from the side of the Oyster, I feel like that really increases the priority on the Azir. Definitely a big one for them. Mission plays so many control mages here. They're almost always going to have him on a scaling AP threat for their team fights. Also starts you thinking about the Senna angles even, trying to deny the Senna from 100 Thieves. That was a really big one for them during the regular season too.
Aatrox finds his way through the bans this time round, locked in for rest in that top lane. 4 games played this summer, undefeated across all of them, and our first to the group stage in New York.
Oh, the cheeky Bel'Veth for the respect shown towards the Mad Lions, with Closer's famous Lee Sin being hovered right now. This was something domestically he found a lot of success on, but he is just teasing us for the time being as they lock in the Misfortune for the bot side of the
I'm getting scared, fellas. I'm getting flashbacks already to the Cloud9 draft when Misfortune and Sejuani locked in first 2 here. 400 Thieves. We'll see if they fare better with it. On the side of CFO, locked in immediately here. Gemini has gone back to over and over the Viego. It does give you that good dueling. Still sticking to this champion even after the nerfs. And Kai'Sa pairing that with it for the dive composition possibilities here, trying to follow up.
Well, this will be Shun's first Kai'Sa, but for Gemini on the Viego, his most played champion throughout the course of summer by 3. 11-8-5. Viego, Wukong, Lee Sin. So a lot of comfort. I want to see how it shapes up in the rest of the draft as well.
A lot of hovers coming in from 100 Thieves right now. Question is, what direction will they go in? He wants to answer the Aatrox with the Fiora. Someday, he had an impressive regular season. Debatable how strong he was during the playoffs, but still a player you have to respect. And he is saying that he is willing to go toe-to-toe with Rest, known as the BM King domestically.
Yeah, and Rest has definitely been a monster on the Aatrox as well, so we'll see if this Fiora counterpick actually finds any traction. It is theoretically really good counterpick into it with the riposte, with the refund there on the Qs as well. As we dip into support bans here, trying to deny Kai'Sa some of those common lane partners as well as more dive options. Immediately, 100 Thieves ban away that Nautilus, one of the go-to pairings.
Look at this, Leona, Nautilus. Wouldn't be surprised to see a Mumu being removed from the side of the Flying Oysters. The question is, once you narrow this pull down enough, what direction do you then go? Because when you think about engaged supports, do you then edge towards things like the Braum? I think Braum could be good when you look at what 100 Thieves have been drafting, and Oysters could try and limit. But do you really want to put Kai'Sa, Braum as your bot lane? I feel like the options that you have to pair up with your AD carry is now becoming very, very narrow.
Yeah, that's why I like these bans here from 100 Thieves, whittling down on Koala's champ pool here. Even when enchanters were at their prime, he definitely was very, very heavy-handed towards the engaged supports and really trying to split up that Kai'Sa. Renata is available, Braum is also available. You could still go things like Rakan. Amumu's taken away by 100 Thieves. The classic combination with Misfortune, the curse to stab bullet time. Rel after those buffs. The other all in there. They pick up the Rel and they get that control mage that Mission wants.
Okay, so the Flying Oysters have a little bit of a dive comp. They have very strong team fighting overall, with Rel being the primary engage, but then ultimately great backline access with the Viego and the Kai'Sa, with your typical scaling control mage. 100 Thieves right now exploring what direction they want to go, because you talk about team fighting with the dive from CFO, but 100 Thieves have just overall a lot of crowd control, a lot of front-to-back threat, and then also a lot of backline access with the Akali locked in for Abadage.
16 games played on Akali for Abadage, 12 of those victories. very comfortable on the pick. Closer will round out that composition with the Sejuani. I was hoping for the Lee Sin, praying for it. I think hopefully it will come up. But if we zoom out, what do you make of the 100 Thieves team composition?
One of the biggest things when you pick a Sejuani is you want melee solo laners to pair with. So got really good pairings there with Someday and Abadaga, both locking in these melee champs that can stack up the stun really quickly. Abadaga, the assassin here in mid lane, looking to scale up to level 6, and then boom, kill pressure, roam around, try and capitalize on it.
You can feel the electricity in the room as soon as 100 Thieves not only locked in Akali, but those Thundersticks start coming together. The second NA team on stage here at the Hulu Theater, and 100 Thieves looking to pick up the first win for NA at Worlds.
And I think even though they have some similar elements to the Cloud9 comp, it's much easier to play these champions versus the Flying Oyster lineup because there is no giant long Maokai ultimate coming at you to stop your Misfortune channel. There's no Ornn ultimate that you have to deal with. There's no Renata, giant sweeping crowd control things for them to have to work around.
For me, I think the mid lane matchup is where I'll be keeping my eyes in the early game because Abadage going for the Akali, this is I'm not going to say a disrespectful pick, but it's not an easy one to play in this matchup. Victor can be hyper oppressive in the 1v1, and Mission, he is very comfortable on the champion, so it's going to be a big test for both these mid laners to showcase what they're capable of in their first game here at Worlds.
The Flying Oysters picked up gold leads in 28 of their 35 games from the PCS at the 14-minute mark. Many of those were significant gold leads, an average of 1,800. I want to see if they can do the same thing on the international stage against 100 Thieves, the #1 seed from the PCS coming up against the #2 seed from the LCS, and New York erupts with a classic USA chant. Kobe, let's turn our attention to these opening minutes, whether or not closer be closed in on by Gemini in this Viego.
Yeah, a lot of defensive warding opening up here for 100 Thieves. 2 wards dropped here in the river very early on. Then you get the recall there for Huhi, immediately switching over to the sweeper already for Amumu, and positioning a little bit aggressively here.
Right now, it looks like they're trying to cover Closer's blue buff. Nothing too aggressive going to come out from CFO, though. They're going to posture up towards the bot side of the lane. Gemini and Rest going to be securing the top side, which means that both junglers going to be going in opposite directions as Closers are going to look to path towards the Fiora. I don't expect him to threaten any dives early on, but I think primarily his goal will be to cover Someday. Remember, in this early lane matchup, it can be a little bit difficult for the Fiora. Around that level 3 mark is when Aatrox does have some real threat, but then the matchup really starts to scale in the favor of Fiora as the lane goes on.
And again, Sejuani can be very aggressive as a jungle matchup when you have double melee solo laners, so you can even look for those super early ganks to try and get key summoner spells out for the matchup, or even look for those kills. And with the opposite pathing here, bottom side pushing for CFO, as well as Gemini heading over on the Viego, full clearing top to bottom for him.
I'm really interested to see, really every single one of these lanes has high amounts of expected trades and engage potential. The Kai'Sa Rel got jumped on first by Bandage Toss from Huhi and FBI, who have instantly backed away just a moment ago. Mid lane for now. Victor is now under some threat. Gemini will spot out Closer. Mission has been able to step backwards. You see whether or not Closer will be here more than Rest.
I've been spotted! He throws up the
shock face.
The jinx from Arcane as he transitions to the other side. Does mean there is a little bit of lead there for Gemini too. More efficient pathing, not going for the swing towards mid lane. Like we said, fishing for summoner spells. Maybe you could get a little bit aggressive there, even a little bit of a damage trade. But with the timing, Viego already on Raptors, they do get a little bit of a sighting there, and it will just be continued full clears for both of them, opposite sides. Sejuani here, actually, Closer probably going to have to stop off there from Krugs and go pick up Scuttle Crab a little early since he took the detour through mid.
So the matchup's kind of going as expected for the time being. The push from CFO in the mid lane, the push from 100 Thieves up towards top. The one I wasn't entirely sure about was the bot lane, a matchup that we don't get to see very often. Kai'Sa Rel into Misfortune Amumu. Of course, MF Amumu becoming a lot more prevalent as we've seen in play-ins. But Rel is a champion that we haven't seen a lot of. And Kobe, you and I were talking earlier in the day about how her buffs are actually surprisingly significant. Her engage is now just a flat 13-second cooldown as we see Huhi going in once again.
Advantage toss forward. Huhi's now looking for a bit more. Finds it. That's Koala below 200. Flash for flash. Shot! First blood onto 100 Thieves. Huhi's taken down. He followed it up after they're being engaged on. And now
Uh-oh!
FPI is in trouble. Call for reinforcements. Gemini's trying to find the second kill for the Flying Oysters, and Koala steps forward. Ferromancy crashed down. A kill traded back and forth. At least FBI is on the board.
The first and second blood Oyster right here. Bottom lane just destroyed there for the 100 Thieves. Both of them go down. Minions will be lost as well. FBI goes down as the wave crashes. He's the only one around to be able to pick up the straggling ones here as that one goes into the dirt.
What a fantastic debut for this bot lane. Shun, the rookie of the team, along with the experienced veteran of Koala, they punish Huhi's aggression. They remount on the Koala to then set up the initial pick. He then flashes away, but then Huhi, he's overcommitted. The damage from Shun, the flashing in to secure that kill, and then Gemini's in the perfect position to set up the dive. A great start for CFO.
Yeah, you can tell Shun immediately there with the positioning. There was no way they were going to back down from that game of support all-in chicken. He follows it up. He gets that auto off. The Kaisa passive, massive there. And Gemini, the standout there from Champions Queue, past full clear all the way down on Viego. Easy move for him to come support that big play from the bottom lane, setting it up.
And statistically speaking, from a PCS perspective, Shun's damage percentage and damage per minute in comparison to the rest of the league was below average, was not one of the players that really shone in the PCS. So not only is this combo something we haven't seen a huge amount of before, he is popping off in this early game.
But considering how young of a player he is, it's really impressive how mechanically he has stood out within the PCS. He is a player that the region is very excited about and the potential that he's capable of. And to start off your tournament like this kind of matches the expectations that have been put on his shoulders.
Yeah, especially with this team comp. That is greatly going to accelerate the win conditions here for the Flying Oyster. They can go for those dive bomb Kaisa plays much earlier. This also is going to allow them to unlock Koala for some of these roams. The Hex Tech flash here picked up for him, so constant aggressive looks now towards bottom lane. They call Gemini again. They clear out the vision for 100 Thieves. They can get the push into full river control for themselves.
And I think for Flying Oyster, if they're able to arrest Dragon control from their gold lead, it's twofold. Not only does it help them set up for a win, 100 Thieves have had great Dragon control, led the way to many victories, but from the Flying Oysters, they generated gold leads on average 1.8k from the PCS. The early play in bottom lane has accelerated them up 1,000 gold against 100 Thieves, and that Dragon is up already. A little bit of a contest in and around the river.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Someday is doing well with the Fiora, constantly pushing this Aatrox in, able to get him under the tower. And Abadage on his level 6 power spike here with Sword Shoes for the Akali, trying to just keep some presence in that river, not to let the bottom lane advantage for Oysters spill over.
Yeah, I mean, so far, everything going very comfortably for CFO. They have the advantage bot, they have the advantage in mid for the time being. And really top lane's doing what he can considering the matchup. We talked about how very early on there are windows where Aatrox can really take advantage of the 1v1, but now with these itemizations, with the levels, advantage for Someday, it's going to be much harder for rest. And Cage tries to come through for Huhi. Nothing really going to amount to much as Closer is shadowing behind, staying in the fog of war. Will now move into this brush. And then looking for a play to try and get this bot lane back in, or at the very least make sure they can push this wave underneath the tower.
Yeah, such good restraint shown here from CFO bottom lane. Even with the big lead, they know with the positioning, hey, Sejuani probably down here trailing. If Amumu's fishing for this, definitely don't give the play to them. Giant pushing wave. We only have a couple seconds to wait. As long as we don't step up and make some giant ego play, we'll retain this massive advantage.
It's the rule of thumb, Kobe. Never fight into a stack wave, right? It's just, not only
like,
do you have...
why are they going for this?
When not only are there opponents in front of you, but the minions also act as an additional enemy. So, very smart, good respect there. But it's not Gemini that's going to start this one off. He is just going to start this one off solo. Closer will be there to match him. But look at the mini-map. We can see both supports heading their way towards the Herald. Huhi, though, has the slight advantage.
Very quick itemization in CS differences, no significant
Hang on a
advantage.
second.
As Someday takes a Q to the face and forces Rest to flash once Closer comes in from the flank. This did interrupt the Herald as a minor win, bought enough time for Koala. riding that metal horse. Magnet Storm unlocks, and this could be a 3v3 in the top lane.
Yeah, we've got actually a 5v5 possibly brewing with both bottom lanes heading up as well. Misfortune with Strut is a little bit behind, but can walk a bit quicker. Kai'Sa already here. Herald does leash though, so there's a delay on the giant Herald fight.
Both supports are level 6. That crucial ultimate. The primary engages of both teams will be available. And remember, the biggest difference, CFO, they want to try and dive, leverage their intent mobility to get onto the backline, whereas Abadage is going to be using his mobility to access that backline himself. Both teams are posturing. 5 versus 5 on the map. The Herald, the objective.
He pulls the trigger. He pulls the trigger. 100 Thieves. They're on the Herald.
Look at Koala. Keep your eyes
Flying
on the
Elspeth,
Rel.
stepping forward, Magnet Storm! Followed up by the Killer Instinct and closes Impact with the Glacial Prison. Does so much to dissuade the engage. It's 100 Thieves that get the kills. Abadage's 5-point strike. Manages to get it and steps back away. The engage was great. The counter was better.
The massive Misfortune ultimate from FBI over the entire CFO team. 100 Thieves, they get the kills and they get the Rift Herald.
I thought that fight was going to go horribly for 100 Thieves because at the start of this, look, keep your eyes on Hui. He's going to miss his engage, and that's the window that CFO used. The 2-man ultimate, but the riposte is good. Then the flash ultimate from Hui sets up for the MF ultimate to rip apart CFO. They're forced to disengage, and 100 Thieves not only secure the Herald, but pick up 2 kills.
Yeah, the chase afterwards there too, picking up 1 more for themselves. Koala right back out to the map though, clear out some of that vision. They did not get the bounty on top of Kai'Sa's head, as Shun was one of the ones able to escape right back through, but no summoner spells or ult left for him.
Look at that damage from FBI's Bullet Storm. The fact that Someday was also able to riposte the engage, that CC, instantly became a threat that needed to be made aware of. I missed that in the live. Now, important to note, 100 Thieves are still down 700 gold, but they can use that Rift Herald for a plate gank. Use that to get some control. Also, Somebody's up 20 CS, 30 CS in that top lane, Kobe.
Yeah, and every lane now is looking at jungle ganks because so many flashes were burned in this. Right now, mid pressure is going to allow the push out for CFO. They'll transition over to Dragon as closer comes to check.
The window now the 100 Thieves have is the Herald in top lane. You can see that Someday does have the push. There's nothing that's going to get in his way if he wants to use it with the Divine Sunderer completed as well. Is he actually going to look to proxy this? No, he's just going to trade a little bit and disengage. I thought that was a good window for him to actually throw this down and really threaten that secure on the top tower, but for the time being, he's going to hold on to it. Will pick up that ward there. Cheeky little deny. But CFO, they will secure their first Drake of the game. Small bonus for them. And the thing we also have to highlight is Shun sitting at 3-0-0 right now. While that fight did not go in the favor of CFO, he was the only one to pick up a kill, and he's continuing to scale up and become a real threat.
And they did a good job tracking cooldowns as well, playing around. Misfortune doesn't have ult backup for this Dragon fight, so we're going to move in. We'll take it while that is down. They don't have the threat.
That was just beautiful. Closer is going to be able to help out. Wait a minute, but it turned around. How did that turn around? The gravity field stunned them. The gravity field stunned them.
The gravity field locked Abadage in place, and they're not done just yet.
Yo, we need a slow-mo on that replay. I was convinced Mission was going to die, and I could not be more wrong.
Mission stands tall in the face of the assassin. Immediately, they get the counter, and Gemini comes in. Viego, execution damage, bursts down Abadaga.
Call him Tom Cruise because he pulled off an impossible mission. It didn't deserve that laugh, but thank you, Betty.
I've kind of hurt. That's how painful it was to listen to that. Mission leveraging his experience there. This is his 5th world appearance. The man stood in the face of execution and held his ground, walked away the victor as his jungler came in to protect him.
Oh my God, it's the 1-2 punch up here.
He didn't realize it. Was that intentional? Anyways, let's take a look at the slow-mo. That wasn't intentional. He doesn't do that.
So look at the engage here. It was a clean engage from Abadage. Everything lands. He's just waiting for the ultimate, but then he gets rooted up. He gets stunned by Gemini into the root from the gravity field, which means that he gets locked up long enough to allow CFO to secure that kill. Beautiful play from the mid-jungle duo. The synergy coming in clutch.
Gemini's timings have been so good here, working to the lanes that need him. Let's take a look at Closer and who he headed up top, though. Someday the winning part for 100 Thieves.
Glacial available. Rift Herald is not valuable. It is taken out and denied by Gemini as well as Rest. That gold lead is maintained at 1,500 in favor of the Flying Oysters.
Too many things now should be going well for 100 Thieves, but they are just falling apart. 100 Thieves now have their eyes set on the blue buff, but I don't know if this is an objective they can fight.
Right now, Koala steps forward. Ferromancy into the Magnet Storm. Closer can throw out the Prison and Pete. Put Rest in place, but FBI is jumped on by Gemini. So for 1 kill to 100 Thieves, here comes Abadagi. It's traded for FBI, who steals the Make Array, and the Gemini will be able to use the Heartbreaker and pick up that misfortune. Closes down next. Someday and Huhi join up with Abadagi. Rest will pull back. It's a 2,000 gold lead, and the fight goes the way of the Oysters.
The first seed from the PCS has come to play and silence this crowd. What a phenomenal performance from them in the early game. You talked about how domestically they were known for building gold leads. Well, Quickshot, they already find themselves with a 2.2k gold lead.
It's not done just yet. It's now Mission's the target. He's 1, 2, 3 members strong. Gravity Field comes up. The riposte is going to deny the stun, and at least 100 Thieves get that kill back. The game is not out of 100 Thieves' hands, but it is starting to fall apart around them.
Exactly. Look at especially the Kaisa. Shun is so fed. This is insane. Gets off solo tower gold in mid lane in addition to the extra kills afforded to him earlier. This Kaisa is out of control. How do we reset this one? We don't even have a keyboard. There we go. All right. It's a massive, massive power spike for him. This means that when Flying Oysters implement the composition that they've set up here, so many CCs to set up for Kaisa plays, when he has ult available, flash, and cleanse available, he can dive bomb in, get that kill, and immediately reset.
Flying Oysters so far managing these skirmishes sublime. Despite that Rift Herald fight going the way of 100 Thieves, almost every other play thus far has gone the way of Flying Oyster. They picked up first blood, they picked up first dragon, they've picked up the first tower, and it is 30 seconds until the next dragon spawns. Gemini on this Viego as well. Reminder that that was blue side's second pick. He's 2-1-3. Just shy of 100% kill participation, has utilized the champion that he is most well known for out of the PCS to near perfection. And this will be an uncontested Herald, Kobe.
Yeah, certainly will. 100 Thieves, no business fighting that one. You lose so much ground when you lose the mid tower that early on. Allows Flying Oyster. You can see these wards, they're already starting to get in around the objectives as 100 Thieves trying to play the other side. 3-person dive again.
Flash and World Ender available. That's both of them used. Dashing, dodging, ducking, diving. Riposte plus one more lunge does it. Mission completes the teleport, throws a Chaos Storm forward. Closer, Huhi, and Someday, the hit squad make it out. Now, does Shun fancy a shot with that Killer Instinct? Not into 3. He backs out. 100 Thieves get the kill and get away.
And it's smart timing to go for that play for 100 Thieves as well. They're trying to play away from this Kaisa as much as possible because that is so much of the gold lead of Flying Oyster right now. They get the kill, they get out while Mission is teleporting in and escape this time without a counter.
So now, 100 Thieves going to leverage their numbers advantage to start off the Drake. The CFO, they're going to be forced to just give this one up. You can see blue pings coming down on the bot lane tower. They have their eyes set on an objective that they can look to trade it for, but they don't have information as to where 100 Thieves are right now. They know that Abadage is top, and they will catch the Misfortune in mid, which will give them this window. Over the wall, the Rel will go, and they'll get a little bit more deep vision to help offer protection for Mission as he secures that objective, which means that another tower will go into their back pocket. But the gold lead's still very sizable for CFO.
I wish to throw a huge shout out to our stats team who have helped us throughout this event, and a little bit of hopium to everyone in New York City, to every LCS fan out there. 6 out of the Flying Oysters' 10 losses. This was a team that had a gold lead at 14 minutes. If we look at their gold graphs, as we have done, there are a lot of nosedives from the top of Mount Everest in those losses columns. So for the Flying Oysters, have they been able to clean up how they close games out? And for 100 Thieves, their team composition can still fight back. They just cannot fall further behind. Because when you start getting hit with that wallet, it gets so much harder. This looks to be another kill. Rest is thrown down the ultimate, but 2 members of 100 Thieves jumping, flashing forward. The stun comes out. Gemini arrives. He's not going to be able to find the route just yet. Someday will get killed. And Koala won't find one. 1-for-1 trades.
Ooh, Someday commits under the tower there to finish off that kill, allowing with these Hex Gates especially CFO to come. They pick up the counter one. That was the one winning lane for 100 Thieves. Has been the Fiora, has been Someday, has been their power point. And now with the 1-for-1 trade, that's actually good for CFO as they're able to capitalize on an objective for themselves in the aftermath.
And just look at how much Mission is benefiting on the map. The veteran for this roster, 200 CS at 18 minutes, just short of 19 minutes. He's now going to secure another tower, but they go in on him isolated.
Right now, it's just Death Brush all day. The strategy for 100 Thieves. Who he goes in the field, out the field, right back in. Teleport's committed. FBI makes it rain. He's got bullet time available, but needs them to get locked down. He no ultimate, no flash, no range. Teleport does nothing. And Flying Oysters get out.
It was Rest who TP'd to the bot lane to catch that wave, and Sunday TP'd into the fight. That could have been a massive team fight for 100 Thieves, leveraging their numbers advantage and the fact that Mission just flashed, but they couldn't quite lock down CFO as they were disengaging. So they're able to get away, continue to maintain this gold lead, and 100 Thieves don't get anything off the back.
Yeah, it's a two-person surprise on Mission, but the two people are two tanks. Sejuani and Amumu not exactly going to have enough burst to finish off the kill. Now they open up a window, they are unable to get any actual value out of it. CFO retain their gold lead, and they retain the map pressure here, constantly pushing out. They have still yet to drop a tower to 100 Thieves, allows them much better use of these hex gates. You can immediately reset back out onto the map, get to these plays that much quicker, get to those rotations so you're not dropping those extra resources.
CFO right now just moving into 100 Thieves jungle. They have their eyes on Someday, but they realize that he's too far away. They're not going to overcommit to that play. Instead, they're just going to drop a bit of vision. You can slowly start to see the vision getting deeper and deeper. 100 Thieves losing more and more control over the map. They do have control over the Baron for the time being. They're also going to have control over this mid-wave, but one of the weaknesses of this composition is their siege and a straight front to back. When Mission is there, the wave clear is too strong, and 100 Thieves can't risk getting close to that tower.
Yeah, I think CFO right now on some big power spikes looking for that dive bomb play. They've invested pretty heavily into flat penetration. You have the Collector for Kai'Sa for the burst damage executions, and the Shadow Flame also just now done for Mission. Big 2-item power spikes for both of the main carries here. So 100 Thieves have to be a little bit careful with what they're toying with.
Vedius, when I look ahead, a minute to the next Drake, Hextech, Soul is what we're playing for. Baron is open and available. 100 Thieves so far have tried to find those picks and haven't been as successful as they would hope. You anticipate they fancy themselves a shot at a straight head-to-head team fight? Are they still looking for picks? How do they come back into this game as they are down 3,500 gold?
I would say that 100 Thieves comp can team fight, and it's not like that it's weakened by any means, because you still have like a Mumu NF, Akali with a good flank can also find ways in, but strictly speaking on paper, as Mission face checks the Akali, she missed everything.
Shuriken doesn't manage to connect. Abadage will definitely want to fix that for the next engage.
I think 100% of the chance of winning a team fight for 100 Thieves is predicated on hitting an Amumu ultimate to lock people in place for MF. If they don't hit that, they're going to lose.
And I think that when you kind of strictly look at CFO's comp, it's just so much easier to play when it comes to the fights. The TP is now coming in, the Dragon is up in 7 seconds. It is CFO that have control of the mid wave, and actually they're conceding the bottom river right now. They're moving up towards the Baron.
Look at the vision on the minimap, Vedius. All of that vision from 100 Thieves cleared out. Flying Oyster, thank you from our observers. The engage comes out from Koala and Shun. That's a dead Huhi. Curse of the Sad Mummy not available. And the Hulu Theater, Madison Square Garden, has been turned into a library as the LCS fans, 100 Thieves, are being bullied, beaten, and bashed around the rift. The Dragon is up, it's been started, it's uncontested.
Great use of those control wards by CFO. 3 control wards, they just black out the map around Baron, waiting in the side brush, and immediately they jump on that hope for 100 Thieves. They take out the Amumu, then they take out that possible CC to set up Misfortune Ultimate. Really nicely done from them. Guarantees them the objective afterwards.
Shun, the young player, the newest addition to this roster at the beginning of the year, is right now 5-0-0 in his very first international game. What a stand-up performance from him, but a lot of it is being set up by his team, and you can see just beautiful commitment from the bot lane. Koala with the engage, the ultimate to follow it from Shun, and they just melt this Amumu off the map. Beautiful play overall from CFO as they secure the Dragon and now have their eyes set on a potential Baron.
Right now, the pace of the game is being dictated by the Flying Oyster, and 100 Thieves will once again find themselves a pick. Now, this is great. This is exactly what the 100 Thieves need. And their composition is by no means at a point that at 3K, they cannot claw it back. It's important. Stop conceding gold. Stop conceding kills.
Again.
Do not concede this Baron. Don't let it get stolen. You are the Thieves.
He's looking for a flank opportunity, but he won't be able to find it. Will be spotted out by Mission. Abadage hang on the flank, the engage from closer.
Oh, the double block was great, but it doesn't set up the kill. Abadage forced to run for his life now. Baron's been interrupted. Rest is trying to end 100 Thieves' world. There is too much damage, too much chase, and Flying Oyster kill 100 Thieves.
A triple kill for Shun. That is 100 Thieves wiped off the map, and that will be the Baron secured for the Flying Oysters.
Shun is legendary! 8 kills for the Kaisa now. So insanely fed, and the Flying Oysters with Baron are gonna leave their mark. Here's another look at the setup. Closer goes out, hits the Sejuani ultimate, but as they go for the engage, Rest just comes in, the Aatrox, a force on the front line, trying to chase down with the power of that Victor ultimate, flashing in there for the double knockup, insane follow-up.
And that is the dive that we were talking about. The moment that Rest commits onto the fight, the Viego ultimate is right next to him, the Kaisa ultimate is right next to him, and it's not a single member going in, it is all 3 damaged threats diving onto the back line, and Someday wasn't even in the fight. And this is why we were saying strictly from the front to back, CFO have the advantage in the 5v5.
7,500 gold lead, and help me if this is not the right way to frame it, but it feels to me like 100 Thieves under pressure, falling a little bit behind early, are just not finding the counter engages. They are being caught out. Frankly, they're being pushed around the map by the Flying Oysters. I want to give everyone a heads up that PCS versus LCS all time is 4 wins to the LCS, 3 wins to the PCS. Right now, 100 Thieves is on the verge of dropping a game to the Flying Oysters, who make their World Championship debut. Baron, power plays, powered up by that Red Bull, pushing this bottom lane. This is the 5th tower secured uncontested, and it is looking more and more difficult because Flying Oysters engage is just so powerful.
They're on the doors of the base of 100 Thieves. They're being pushed to the brink. They're going to need a miracle fight to be able to bounce back in this one. The gold seems insurmountable, and CFO have done a fantastic job of leveraging their leads to suffocate their opposition.
Kaisa almost has Infinity Edge, and we're looking at 2 items on Misfortune here. I cannot get over the massive advantage of Shun. This is going to be so dangerous for 100 Thieves. Everything standing here, trying to defend inhibitors.
Oh man, 800 plus 40 CS. The Baron empowered minions are starting to clear out. And of course, because of that Baron buff, they're so much more difficult to be cleared. Abadage and Closer looking for an opportunity. They have to hit their skill shots. They have to do it again and again to make back this goal deficit.
4,000 Red Bull Baron power play in the favor of CFO right now. They've secured the first base tower. They're looking for the first inhibitor. Rest is going to clear out that mid wave as a new one joins the fray. CFO likely not going to try and end the game right now. The Dragon spawns in about 35 seconds, and after securing this tower, I expect them to disengage.
I think as soon as that cleanse comes up for Shun, there's 0 chance that 100 Thieves could be able to win a team fight anyways. With that thing up, even with the Amumu flash in, trying to land an ultimate, their dream scenario becomes non-existent. And there's the Infinity Edge for Shun. He resets. It's a 4-item Kaisa to the 2-item Misfortune. Not to mention the massive powerhouse level 16 spike for Victor Mission in mid lane, also up an item.
And I think expectations were that this is not how this game would go.
No.
Second seed from the LCS, often overlooked as a roster. I think expectations were high, especially when you look at that top side of the map. Going up against the PCS, a region that over the last few years internationally has not looked great, especially during the group stages of World, to come in with this level of performance, to be winning out straight up in the 2 versus 2, for Gemini to be in the right place at the right time, pretty consistently throughout the early game. This is a performance that is going to shake heads, and potentially shake up this group.
And a roster that shook up the PCS. They won 4 best of series back to back to back, surprising everybody. They make their international debut. And even more importantly, the player that maybe didn't have the largest impact regionally, Shun is the guy that's leading the charge today. New look, new duo in this bottom lane, and the Flying Oysters once again stepping forward. Don't forget that they're in the same group as Gen G, and Royal never give up. It's always going to be a difficult group to compete in. And Flying Oysters, they've got themselves 3 dragons. It's still that 10k gold lead, super minions in the bottom lane, and they are just grouped up pushing top.
Here comes the pain train. CFO have arrived. The secondary tower is very dangerous to fight at for 100 Thieves. I think they should not.
Oh, someday the riposte keeps him up and alive. We'll be able to slow down further chase. Koala not getting that Magnet Storm off, potentially saving some lives. 6 tower deficit. Damn, those Hex Gates are loud. As 100 Thieves are now defending. Minions in the middle lane, they've fended off at least half of this inhibitor timer, but it's a minute to Baron, 3.5 to Soul.
Exactly that quick shot. That'll be the next main objective on the map. 100 Thieves are going to have to try and contest the Baron. If they can steal it away, they can buy more time. There's windows of opportunity for them to bounce back into this game.
All right, fellas, keep pumping me full of the hopium. I need a hit now, like really bad.
I mean, I think so much of this is like, Abbedagge is getting to a point where he, in theory, can execute Shun. The question is, will he actually be able to do it? Because the amount of mobility that he has at his disposal, the amount of damage that he has, the real world,
look at
where
this too.
Shun is the executor.
I always got to stop watch.
Okay, never mind. It's no longer possible to execute Shun.
For 100 Thieves, they are hoping and looking for Flying Oysters to maybe overstep. Look at the vision. It is pretty deep right now. They're starting to push it in this northern quadrant. The Dragon River is empty as we're still 3 minutes away. Very, very clear. Flying Oysters, they're setting up for Baron. They're pushing the waves. They're pulling the vision down. Now they're going to back out and wait for that to spawn in a few seconds' time.
They've been grinding away, too. Nice to see the hard work rewarded here for the Flying Oyster. Baron about to spawn, and once again, they've done a very good job with the fundamentals. Sweep clean all the vision here for 100 Thieves. Make them face check into you, into your massive advantage.
Oh,
This is melting.
Baron steal hope.
Hope. Is it going to happen? Back away. Flying Oysters have been disciplined most of this game. They have not overextended.
Look at the base.
Consistently, super minions are inside the base. Freddy, you called it right.
CFO, they know that they have a pressure point in the bot lane. They know that their top wave is pushing as well. CFO are just playing the map.
100 Thieves in another do-or-die situation. The pressure cannot be higher. 2,000 hit points into the pit. It's stolen. LCS steals the Baron. But is it enough to steal the game? Shun and Gemini are chasing inside the mist. And just like that, 3 members down. Abbedagge gets at least 1 back. Rest is continuing to chase. Shun manages to find another. Flying Oysters are inside the base. 100 Thieves steal Baron, but CFO secure the game.
It's 10 kills for Shun and a Nexus in their eyes. CFO will come out swinging in Game 1 at Worlds.
Formula! Flying Oysters dominate, destroy, and decimate 100 Thieves.
Well played, Flying Oyster. My goodness. Massive advantages for